Welcome to the home of the DIY movement, where we build stuff and paint things.
All right, y'all, it's way back Wednesday again, where we last left off last week. We had the 83 Fleetwood Coupe. And, first I want to address a comment that I got last week. Someone was saying that I was on here lying about these cars, and all I do is lie and don't believe me. And I mean, nobody asked you to watch the videos. Obviously, you're watching them because you enjoy them, or you have an ulterior motive. But every video that I make of these way back Wednesdays are cars that I've owned, and I want to say it's close to about 30 of them. So there's no faking the funk. I have no need to come on the internet and lie about what I have or have had. Now that's out the way, the 83 Fleetwood Coupe I had for a little bit, had some fun with it, end up selling it. I don't really remember who I sold it to, but a couple years later on after that, I did hear through the grapevine that it ended up in Corpus Christi, which is like 4 hours south of here. That's all I ever heard of it, so that's all she wrote on that car. Sold the Caddy. I was in between cars, still working a bunch, and that's when the 60 had popped up. It didn't actually pop up, it had been popped up, and I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on it. So I used the money from the Cadillac, put some money on top, and bought the 60, which was episode 2 of the Way Back Wednesday. So we're a little out of sync here, but after this episode, we should be all caught up in order. So I bought the 60 and did my thing to that, and this is what it ended up looking like shortly before I sold it. So we fast forward. Before I sold it, if you guys watched the last shop talk that I posted on Sunday, where me and my wife are talking about having two cars, having that one special car for a special occasion, or whatever, and then having kind of like your other car, which may be a budget build or something that you can drive around and not worry about rock chips or getting rained on or anything like that. So I had the 60, and I ended up picking up what I considered a budget car, which was an 88 Monte Carlo Luxury Sport. So here's the 88 Luxury Sport. Unfortunately, I really don't have any pictures of the before. I only have one picture of when it was white, and all it is the trunk, which I'll show that one next here. But this 88 Luxury Sport right here, this single-handedly had to be the cleanest G-body that I've ever owned. Man, it was clean. It was white, and I remember at the time I used to service some nursing homes or assisted living type facilities and full-blown nursing homes. So those types of places, the senior living centers and nursing homes, or retirement homes like that, those are really good places to find well-kept, low mileage cars, right? So every time I would go, it was a daily thing, it was my job. I'd go to these different facilities, and I'd be scoping the parking lot, man, trying to find Fleetwood, or anything, a Lincoln. There was a lot of Lincolns, anything that was what people call grandma clean. And I didn't find this one, but I remember the day my friend called me and told me that he found this one at an assisted living facility that I actually serviced. It was part of my route, and but I hadn't been there in a while. I was way up on the northwest side, and I was like, man, really? He was like, man, this thing is clean, man, like I just picked it up. And I was like, well, man, what are you doing later, man? I'm gonna swing by and take a look at it. So of course, the car didn't have hydraulics at the nursing home. So I went to his house, and man, I was like, I gotta have it, man. I have a real soft spot for luxury sports, and I was like, man, let me get it from you. I remember he paid $3,000 for it, And I was like, man, I'll get you, I'll give you $3,000, like go to the bank tomorrow. And he was like, nah, I think I'm gonna go on and build it, because we all suffer from the same illness of having to have 2 cars. And I said, well, man, what would it take? What would it take for me to get it from you? And he was like, man, you can get it for $35,000. I was like, all right, bet. So gave him $3,500 for it. The thing still had R12 Freon, low mileage, 0 rust, and most importantly, it had 0 wind noise. Like, you drive with the windows up, and usually on these old G bodies, if you haven't replaced the weather strip, or even if you have, it's aftermarket weather strip, it doesn't fit quite right, and you get wind noise. If you're riding with the windows up and the AC on, you can hear wind noise coming through around the windows. Man, not this one. This thing was quiet, cold R12 AC, just a really nice car. And I was like, man, I gotta have this, right? Because I'm addicted. So I bought it, and the first thing I did was I took it to my buddy Al at Fine Line Street Rides. He's got his own shop now in Houston, but back then he was doing stuff in his driveway at his house. So I had him cut it, that's what we do. And 6 battery, 2 pump. And these batteries right here, these were these gel cells batteries. I remember they used to sell them in Pasadena. They were like $20 each, or like $25 each, something like really cheap. So you get like 6 batteries, for $150. Whereas now, you can barely buy 1 battery for $150. The thing about these gel cells, the good thing is that you can mount them upside down or however you want. The bad thing is that when they go out, without warning. You get a dead cell, and you're out, you're out of commission until you figure out which one it is. So ups and downs, but cheap batteries, basic pump, 2 pump. I don't even remember where I got the setup from, but I got it used. So it was like a budget build. I do remember on the top quarter panel, it had a big CB radio antenna. So it took the antenna off, had a big hole there. So that was, had to be, patched up or whatever in the paint job process. So here's another picture. Here's proof for the hater who says I'm out here lying. That's both pictures. That's the 60 and the Luxury Spark parked at the same place at my old house. And that white van was my company van that I drove to service the nursing home facilities. So man, when I was trying to decide what color I wanted, so the car was white with gray interior. So it makes sense to go either back to white or black or some shade of charcoal or silver to match the dash and the interior without having to redo too much on the interior. So, I was looking for that right silver, because man, there's a million different shades of silver. And I remember we went, me and my wife, well, we weren't married at the time. That's her little Honda Accord right there. We went and looked at Nissan Rogues, and because I saw one on the freeway, and I was like, man, I really like that silver. So we went to the Nissan dealership, and looked at the Nissan Rogues, and I was almost gonna pull the trigger on a silver from the Nissan Rogues. I was like, no, I'm gonna keep looking or whatever. So I remember I pulled up to a gas station. I was in the company van, and it was at the Shell on Main and 610 over here in Houston area, south by the Astrodome. And there was a lady there in a BMW. And when I saw the BMW, pulled in to pump gas or whatever, I knew right away, man, that was the silver that I had to have. So unfortunately, this picture right here doesn't really pick it up. This isn't the lady's car or anything, something I pulled off Google. But the color was Silverstone 2. And it had like a blue hue to it. And I was like, man, that's it. I gotta have it. That's what I want. As soon as I saw it. Because I wanted something just not plain silver. I wanted something with some flop on it. So I walk up to the lady, right? She's pumping gas. I walk up to her and I was like, do you know what color this is? What color your car is? And she was like, silver. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know that, but do you know the name or what it's referred to or anything. She was like, no, I have no idea. I don't, it's just silver. So I was like, well, like, do you mind if I take a picture of the VIN? And she was like, what? And I was like, and I explained to her, I'm like, man, I really like the color. I have another car. I want to paint this color. If I could just get a snap of the door jamb or something. And she was like, yeah, I guess. She probably thought I was some weirdo. But I took a picture and I took it to, a paint store, a paint jobber. And they ran it and they was like, it's BMW Silverstone 2. And I was like, man, that's what I want. I got to have it. So then, after that, I would Google pictures and to confirm. And yeah, that was the colors. They had a Silverstone and they had a Silverstone 2. So you can see in this picture right here, it kind of has a blue hue to it, kind of not. There's another picture that I'm going to have here in a minute that may capture it better. So I took the car. This was before I knew how to do paint and body, and like I said, I didn't have the space back then, and I really didn't have the time because I was working a lot, a lot of hours, a lot of overtime, a lot of on call, and so I took it to Al to go ahead and cut it. And I took it to a local guy to paint it, and this was kind of the spark of the DIY movement. This particular car, because I remember I dropped it off. He told me the price. It was under $2,000, which that's great. And he told me like 2 weeks, and I was like, all right, cool. And that 2 weeks turned into like 2 months. And I grew really frustrated. So, I told the guy, it finally came to the point where I told him, look, man, if you ain't going to do it, like, I'll just go pick it up. No, I'm going to get on it. Okay. So I remember, it was done. I paid him. And I think he still had to like buff it or something. Or I forgot that detail of it. But all I remember is that I wanted to get it done for a New Year's picnic at the time, whenever year that was. And I picked it up 2 days before New Year's. So New Year's Eve. And I picked it up in the middle of the night. And this fool left it outside, like outside his shop. He didn't even meet me there. And, it was just real disrespectful on his part. And that's kind of what started. Was like, man, you know what? I'm done with these people. I'm done with these shops. I'm done with these painters. I'm done with all that, man. So anyways, I took the car to my friend's house in Pasadena, which owns the 68, yellow 68 from the channel. And actually, we took it, we stripped it down at his house. So when I got it back from paint, all the stainless and stuff and lights and stuff were still at his house. So I took it back to his house, and he had a luxury sport, so he kind of knew, a little bit more than me about him. And we slapped it together on New Year's Eve. We put all the trim on, we put the lights back on, and it was ready for the picnic. Right there, it's on some 13.7. Those were black spoke China wheels. Well, at the time they were sold on Lay It Low as McLean's from Homeboys, if y'all guys remember Homeboys, he was dancing on the stripper pole. And honestly, man, like I knew what McLean's were, right, from the 90s, but I had never heard of McLean knockoffs ever. They always made bolt-ons with the little spinners. And I had never heard of McLean knockoffs until I got on Lay It Low, and I was like, McLean don't make knockoffs. This guy was selling them, man. So, he was a good option for color, color spokes, color dish back then. Cheap wheels. So they were black spoke Chinas with Chevy casted bow tie chips. Kind of a generic look, on the budget. Here's a picture right here when we were done. And that was his luxury sport behind me, which was a really nice car. And I think that car's still around, but it's been redone. So the car was lifted. The car had wheels. Car had a paint job. Had presentable interior. But, man, it rode really good, man. It had accumulators in the back. And I used to take this car. I was in some classes in community college. And man, that was like 45 minutes on the freeway from my house to the school, to the community college. And I used to drive this car, and man, it was fun. It was a real fun car. I used to, hit 75 miles an hour like nothing, with the windows up and no wind noise. It was a really good car. Here's another angle of it. You can kind of see the bluish hue that the paint had. Like I say, I really don't have a whole lot of pictures of the build, because that just wasn't a thing for this car. I used to have more on PhotoBucket, but ever since PhotoBucket sold out and started charging memberships, I lost, hundreds of pictures. I think I had like 2,000 pictures in my PhotoBucket that were gone. So anyways, we made the picnic. The picnic was fun. It was gloomy that day, I remember. I think it rained. So we did all this work and wiped it all, cleaned it, detailed it all out, only for it to rain the next day. But that's it on the 13.7s, Chinas. And one thing I want to show about these luxury sports, let me pull this next one up. One thing that I look at when I look at luxury sports, when I go to car shows or whatever, or online, is the gap between the bumper and the header panel. There's a little gap between the headlights and the grille on each side, and a lot of times those gaps are like all warped, or they're like half-inch wide, probably because the body bushings are worn out. But man, not this car. That car, there was no gap. Everything fit good. It was a real good, original, unmolested car. I don't know that the lady that he got it from was the original owner. I don't know that part of it. But I mean, it even had the license plate holder, which is kind of hard to find these days for the luxury sports. Most cars are missing them. So got a couple more pictures here. Yeah, I think this picture shows the blue hue on it a little better. Man, good door gaps. Just a really good car. Even the stainless moldings on the sides, I remember didn't have any dents. And I remember there was a comment here a week ago or 2 weeks ago. A guy was asking if there was any car that I regret selling. And believe it or not, out of all the ones I've had, and I've had, cars that I had a lot of money in, and I had cars that I didn't have a lot of money in. This was one that I didn't have a lot of money in. I miss this one, because now I see these prices for these G bodies. they're out of sight, man. And you guys go back and watch the shop talk from Saturday night, posted on Sunday, where I addressed the price issue. And these things are just out of reach, man. It's ridiculous. But this was one of the ones that I regret letting go. And I didn't actually sell it. We'll get to that in a second. Before I did let it go, I did get the interior redone. So I took the car, or actually I took the seats and the door panels only. Seats, door panels, and that was it. To a shop in Stafford, Texas, which is kind of outskirts of Houston. And he recovered them, basically looked like factory. That was a Monte Carlo LSCL, and with the pillow seats. And man, he did a hell of a job. Them things look like really crispy factory. And man, no cracks on the dash. Steering wheel wasn't all sticky and greasy, and no cracks on the plastics or anything, man. So I used to have one of them column braces because I was worried about somebody stealing the car, which I don't know, the people were stealing Monte Carlos in 2009, but that used to be a thing. Back in high school, people were cranking cars left and right. So I bought one of them column braces, so they couldn't crank the car. But man, he did a hell of a job. So that kind of completed the car. Everything was now fresh. Like the seats were nice. They had some real small like cigarette burns, or just kind of wear and tear. But man, once he refreshed the seats like that and the door panels, man, it looked like a brand new car, man. Had power seat, power windows, automatic locks, tilt column, which I think is pretty standard. But I didn't have this car very long. I ended up trading it. I got one more picture here. Let me post up here. This picture right here was taken in Louisville, Kentucky. It was for the individual's back bumper bash. It was the second event, second year, I should say. The first year I took the 60. So the second year I took this luxury sport, which was crazy, man, because that's like 20, well, with a trailer, like 20 hours, 21 almost, one way. So, you know, we did quite a journey to take the luxury sport, man. But I mean, you can even see on the back tail light there, it had that silver on the tail light, silver like pinstripe. That was factory. Like almost all the ones you see now, that silver is all worn off, you know. But we took the car to Louisville, and it was a lot of fun. And I got contacted by a guy from the Dallas area if I would be interested in trading. And I was like, you know, maybe, you know, depends. And, you know, he made his offer. We'll get into that on the next Way Back Wednesday. But I did end up trading this car. And I think that might be the only time I've ever traded a car. And at the time, I thought the car that I was getting was better than the luxury sport. You know, that's all up for debate. Better, the word better, you know. I think it was kind of like I think it was an even trade. We traded straight across, no money. I don't think there was any wheels involved. I think it was stock car for stock car, something like that. But I know the guy was a youngster, or I shouldn't call him a young. He was in his 20s, I'm sure, early 20s, and he got this car. I think he was from Good Times up in Dallas area, and he kind of took it to the next level. I know. I think he like painted the frame and like chromed it out, did some stuff to the hydraulic, to the suspension, like a higher lockup, and, you know, did his own thing, you know. And I got his car, which we're going to get into next week. But this picture right here was in Louisville, Kentucky. I remember when I took it. Of course, you see the plaque there. It was a big event, and I remember, man, what we were barbecuing in the parking lot of the hotel, and yeah, there was a guy from New Jersey or New York that brought down some Italian sausage, right? And I took, in the back of my truck, I took my little propane grill, you know, something to fire up, you know, doesn't take a whole lot of work, you know. I hauled my propane grill all the way to this picnic. And so we were in the parking lot like the night before the picnic. It was like a party in the parking lot. And so I was grilling Italian sausage from New York on a grill that I brought from Texas, you know, in Louisville, Kentucky. And I remember we had a whole conversation about that. I don't even remember the guy's name, but I do remember that happening. And it was just a special event, man. You know, you meet people from all over the country when you go to places, you know, events like that. But anyways, man, the car was a lot of fun. I drove it to my little community college, drove it, you know, go out to eat and stuff like that. Didn't have it very long because I was, you know, presented with a decent trade that we'll get into on the next Way Back Wednesday, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We are at 20 minutes or somewhere around there. And guys, if you want to support the channel, you can go check out the website, LoneStarLowShop.com. And I got merchandise. We just had a sale today. Appreciate it. We sell accumulators. Been selling a lot of accumulators. I think we have one pair in stock right now, but we're getting ready to restock. And we got all kind of stuff on the website, man. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Y'all stay tuned for more work. I think the next video is going to be part 2 of the Cadillac hydraulic install that we finished up this past weekend. You guys stay tuned for that this weekend. Coming up, probably drop it on Saturday. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Y'all stay tuned for more work. And like always, thank you for watching.